I love it. I love that intro.
What's up, everybody? It is Monday evening, May 10th, and steroids are back in the news now. Bob Baffert, winning horse that I talked glowingly about because he's only a $1,000 horse. Well, apparently he wins because Bob Baffert is shoving needles in his ass. So that was interesting. But what's up, Tom?
Not a whole lot, man. I had a full day of work yesterday, full day of work today. I'm glad to get on here and talk about some sports.
Right. Yeah, it's at some point, if you haven't seen it though, you have to go look at Baffert's response. He's basically just like a paranoid schizophrenic where he just like, I don't know what's going on, but like, just look around me. Everyone hates me. Everyone's out to get me. I don't know how this happened, but people are out to get me. Full on insanity plea. So that's interesting. But today in sports history, in 1889, the 17th Preakness, W. Anderson wins riding aboard Buddhist, 2 minutes, 17 seconds. And then in 1905, the 31st Kentucky Derby, Jack Martin aboard Agile wins in 2 minutes and 10 seconds, it looks like. So, yeah, we're probably going to have a lot of today in sports history that deals with sports, because I'm pretty sure all summer the only sport in America used to be horse racing. So that makes sense. But so last week we gave out some of our draft grades.
About half.
Yeah, I can tighten up the camera again like that.
Thank you. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Sorry. I think this is like one of the last shows that I'll be up in the gym here, and I hate having the elliptical in my background. So I'm moving down to the basement, and I'll start decorating with sports stuff.
Yeah, I tried to decorate with sports stuff up here. I just have that my Manchester United flag and my signed Marshall Faulk jersey. So that's the only thing I have. But yes, we last week we went over some of the draft grades. Looking back, now that we're fully a week removed from the draft, do we kind of think the same about most people, or have we kind of rethought some things, or I don't know. What's your take?
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that now that everyone's kind of had a chance to calm down and like reevaluate from a much less heightened perspective of their team's picks and picks around the league, I think it's safe to say that we definitely are looking at guys differently, and we're looking at picks and trades differently as well. So
I haven't brought it up yet, but the Aaron Rodgers situation seems to be getting weirder and weirder. I don't know if you saw last week, but Schefter was it was Schefter, not Rappaport, right? Schefter was basically like, yeah, I mean, they're the same person. Basically, he was like, yeah, I announced the news on the day of the draft because I wanted to. Like, he just wanted to see the world burn. Like, so I respect that from Shefty. I mean, all day, I'm sure he was just on the phones making money. So that's good for him. But it doesn't make sense to me as a Packers organization then if this was known for a little bit of time. Obviously, like all the news hasn't come out yet, but I mean, the Texans and the Packers are in a weird situation to me where, like, I clearly don't think either of those quarterbacks want to be in that team, or Deshaun Watson and everything else off the field to the side. Like, Aaron Rodgers just doesn't want to be there anymore. And I understand you're losing an all-time great quarterback, and that sucks. But if you knew if this was going to happen, not even floating his name out there in trade talks is crazy. Like, I know the organization has the belief that, like, he'll stay, and in my head, sometimes I like the fact that he wasn't traded by the draft kind of seems like he might stay with them, but I'm also here, like, it's also out there that, like, he could completely just quit and go do Jeopardy. Like, that's a serious option for him. So I just don't know why both those organizations, and especially the Packers organization, because at least from like a philosophical standpoint, they actually have a decent, like, track record in like on-field, off-field management, things like that. But yeah, it just seems crazy to me that, like, why not just float his name out there? I just see what you can get.
Not even that, but like if you have teams calling about him, there are just multiple stories of them just slamming the phone saying he's not available. Like if he truly is done with the Packers and stuff, you can't pass up these opportunities because when a team like, let's say the Broncos calls up and says, "Hey, what do you want for Rodgers?" and they do, get the slam or whatever, then they could go out and find a different solution at quarterback, and then you're basically closing a door with a trade partner for when you inevitably come around to trading Rodgers. Not trading him by the draft. You already saw he offered up 3 teams that he wanted to go to: the Broncos, the 49ers, and the Raiders. The 49ers went and filled their quarterback hole. They're not going to be in the market for a quarterback.
Exactly. And now that these new teams, I mean, I guess John Elway's just crazy. Like I remember back like 3 or 4 years ago in one of Brady's last years, like he made a draft day call to try and trade to get Tom Brady. So Elway's going to go after quarterbacks any way he can. So I don't necessarily know that's for sure. But for all those other teams, I mean, first of all, you have to be crazy to want to go play in Las Vegas for John Gruden right now. Yeah. I mean, them and the Texans just seem like they have absolutely in their forward thinking, like they don't have any at all. So like I said, and anyone else that like had quarterback issues going into the season, address them to like how they could in the draft. So not floating his name out there. I mean, I don't even know what a trade package would look like for Aaron Rodgers right now. And it's not, we're not in the period anymore where like kind of when Andrew Luck and before 2010, really, when you knew who was going to be drafted number 1 overall, that quarterback the year before, like you knew. And other than that, other than like weird cases like Trevor Lawrence this year, like you can't like a team that like the Green Bay can't expect a first round pick, even if it's from like the Texans. Like you can't expect there to just be a really good quarterback. Like, I mean, maybe Sam Darnold redoes everything, but like you look back on that quarterback draft, and it's like the teams are now at a point where it's less money to win and we've talked about it. It's less money to win Super Bowl with a quarterback who's under 5 years. So, like I said, just them not even floating his name out there just makes absolutely no sense to me. And even if you are a GM that's in love with your quarterback and like would do anything, it's irresponsible on your job part to not float his name out there.
Yeah. Well, and like you had asked, what does a trade package look like for Aaron Rodgers? Someone from CBS Sports came up with 4 offers that the Broncos could offer up. One of them, in all of the offers, there's one player, and then it's just a bundle of picks going forward, which obviously could not happen. They could do 2 players and some stuff and everything, but the offer number 1 that he has on here, Drew Lock, a 2022, 23, and 24 first-round pick, and then a second and a third. That's a lot of draft capital and a young quarterback for a guy who's turning what? Is he 36, 34? Like he's got good football left in him, but he's in his 30s.
Yeah, and if Tom Brady took us anything, if you take care of your body, which for the most part, Aaron Rodgers has also never been injured as well. So even though I don't think he'll play as many years as Brady has, he's still got 3 or 4 like top of the level game left in it.
And then really, really good game for another 2 or 3 years after that. Like he's a guy that could still play for another 9 years.
Yeah, and I also think the Packers, and like I said, this could have been going on last year, and they kept it under locks. Which, in looking at it now, like the Packers missed their year. Now, if they would have floated this out last year in the draft, I honestly think the Browns would have given an offer. I think the Bills would have given an offer. I think the Chargers would have given an offer. Like anyone that drafted a young quarterback would have given an offer. And now, like you're at the point where you don't even have a chance to get a young quarterback because no franchise. The only quarterback we're trading for would be Trevor Lawrence, really, and Jacksonville's not going to part with him ever. So
there's only one.
It's just
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Oh. I was waiting for you to talk.
Sorry. Outside of the Broncos, I think there's really only one organization that you could say that needs a quarterback, and it's not going to be the Texans because technically Deshaun Watson's still there and he could come back. A team like the Eagles doesn't have the money to afford Rodgers. there's really only one team outside of the Broncos organization that needs a quarterback desperately for the future for the next 5 to 7 years, and that's the Washington football team. No one's bro. We're on the same wavelength. I swear to God.
In my head, I was like, I want to get this right with him. Like, I want to think we're thinking the right thing, and at the last second, I was like, it's the Red. It's the football team.
I'm really surprised you knew where I was going with that. No one is talking about Washington going and trading. I think they have the best defense in the league, personally. After everything that they've done, they have the best defense in the league. They've got receivers now. They've got a solid running back in Antonio Gibson. And they have Fitzpatrick, which is great for a year or two, but Taylor Heineke is not going to start for you, right? If you could go out and get Aaron Rodgers, that team is Super Bowl bound, potentially, even over the Bucs.
The Bucs do the Bucs bring back the Bucs bringing back basically their entire team from last year is crazy in and of itself. But yes, absolutely, it would vault them up to
that would be a hell of an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and like I said, I think they just missed their mark by a year because now, I don't know for sure if the Bills would have put Josh Allen up last year. It's kind of questionable. I have no doubts that the Browns would have, and I would have wanted them to. I think you're just a year too far into it, and I don't know. The Aaron Rodgers situation is so weird to me because, like I said, my people at Fleury are all over it, and like they seem like they're fully behind Aaron Rodgers, and I guess it's just with the Browns being so bad for so many years, like I just didn't really pay attention to the NFL. I guess I never, and I knew this was ongoing with Aaron Rodgers, but like I said, like if it's been going on for years, you had to know this day was coming at some point. So
100%, and like with all of the drama and the stuff that's been around Aaron Rodgers for basically his whole career, when you think back to like the Brett Favre situation where they drafted him and he hated him, and they pushed Brett Favre out, and that just kickstarted the drama. Then it was all the stuff with McCarthy until he finally got him fired. Now it's the GM. When does the drama end? Like, when is it Aaron Rodgers' fault?
Well, did you know? We may have brought this up last week. Did you know that no quarterback has ever started for Green Bay for more than 16 years? But I do want to go back to what you said about the football team real quick. Yes, they absolutely need a quarterback. 100%, but I'm not. If I'm Washington, I'm not parting with any of those front four guys.
Absolutely
to get
not.
Rodgers. Like I said, maybe last year you could have got Montez Sweat or something out of him, or last year you probably could have gotten the number 2 pick because a team isn't going to look at Chase Young the same way that they looked at a quarterback. So
right,
it's a whole weird situation, and like I said. He's probably going to end up still in the Packers or not playing. Like I just see, and it comes back to I think what we started talking about a couple months ago is where NFL stars are now seeing guys in like Deshaun Watson get extended, and they're seeing guys like the extension that Pat Mahomes is getting, and the players are getting more and more power, and owners are just like, well, this is how football is. That's how basketball is. It's going to be different. So.
True.
Yeah, I don't really know where that's going to go. And honestly, I got to tell you, I don't really have any interest in following it that much. Like it's an NFC team. Like but
I've always not liked Aaron Rodgers. So the less we talk about him, the happier I am.
Hey, I'll talk about Aaron Rodgers all the time. I don't want to talk about Tom Brady.
That's fair. I hate them both.
Which honestly sucks because like I bet that there's like an online poll of people that don't know football at all. It's like they list out 10 players like who and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are like the first 2. Like
probably.
So yeah.
Probably,
so
yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Or like the talking points going into the season are going to be
revolved
A, can
around,
the Bucs repeat? Yeah. Can the Bucs repeat? And B, can the Packers deal with all their inner tomosity
problems with Rodgers, and can he double back on his MVP or whatever? Like
honestly, the next 2 months before like actual training camp and like practices start are going to be horrible because every single episode we're going to be like, I know it was with like
Here's
the
an
Deshaun
update
Watson
on
thing.
Rodgers.
Yeah. We did it with the Deshaun Watson thing. Like, we're just going to keep updating on Aaron Rodgers. And then we're going to get to the point where we are with Deshaun Watson, where it's just like, I don't care anymore. Like, I just don't care.
That's what it's really going to be. Training camp's going to be, these rookies look like they might start. And now let's talk about Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson in that order. And then that's going to be 45 or an hour of our show that we can't get back. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? I'll give the NFL I'll give the NFL credit for one thing. Unlike the Major League Baseball, the NFL knows how to capitalize on big moments. Like the NFL draft, even what it is now compared to even just like 5, 7, like 9 years ago, is so much different. It's just it's crazy. But from what I've heard, everyone said everyone loved Cleveland. It was a pretty bad weekend, I think. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was pretty rainy and stuff.
Yeah, it was a week ago. Things leave my mind after a week. So
makes sense.
Yeah, right. So we're gonna get back into our draft grades. We're probably gonna go through these ones a little bit quicker because we have some superlatives to hand out, and hopefully a Mount Rushmore at the end as well. So I don't know who we ended with, but I'll give everyone a little bit of an update. I'm not going to give you an update. We'll post this later. I gave the Browns an A. You gave the Jets a B+. You gave the Browns an A+. I gave the Jets a B+. So that kind of wraps up our teams. And only way to start it off now is just the National Football Conference version of the Jets, the New York Giants.
Well, all right. Let me scroll down. I thought we were going.
Okay, wait. Okay, who did you have? Go ahead.
No. It's fine. I'm here. So round 1 with the Giants, they took Kadarius Toney after trading down, like big yikes because you had the perfect situation to draft Kwity Paye, and you got a Kings. The trade down was fantastic. Dave Gettleman deserves a round of applause for that. The pick, not so much. Then they end up trading down again in the second round and get Azeez Ojulari, which was a great pickup. People were talking about Ojulari going.
We'll see. People were talking about Ojulari, but he's one of those tweener guys that, unfortunately, is a little bit like not as athletic and versatile as Koromoa is, but he's kind of just like that kind of dude who's like they need to make the professional jump forward, whereas like it's not college anymore. But go on.
I was just saying, just from the standpoint of they were looking at Ojulari for them at 11 and they got him at 50. That's just great value for them, especially if he was on their board. In all honesty, I don't know the rest of the guys that they had drafted.
I'm looking at
UCF corner.
I'm looking at it. Let me pull them up real quick. But
it's Aaron Robinson, Eldon Smith, Gary Brightwell, and Rodarius Williams. All
right, who are you going? All right, we're going to go alphabetically after this.
Okay.
I mean, it's just they did like it worked out so perfectly for them. Like they got Ojulari. I'll give them credit for that. But it could have worked. I mean, they could have had an A+ on days 1 and 2 of the drafts if they just would have taken Kwity Paye. I mean, it's so Giants / like the bad teams and the rest of the NFL. Like I could see the Browns doing this, but or hopefully the old Browns and hopefully the old Jets. But let's be real, they all revert back to their natural things at some point. But yeah, it would have been the absolute perfect pick. And Dave Gettleman has never made a trade on draft day before this. And after the first time he made a trade, and he traded down, and it was a great trade down, and they started calling him Trader Dave. So he made one trade, and they call him Trader Dave. Trader Dave.
It was 2 trades. He traded down in the second.
I like I said, I haven't really looked at all the ones in their later rounds, but just the fact that you had the opportunity to basically, at least hopefully, give your defense 2 future defensive ends or edge rushers that, I mean, we've seen the Washington football team do it. It's the same conference. Like you put together a defense, it can work. But just for me, it started to C. So, I'll just give him a C+ because I don't really think you can screw up rounds 4 through 7 terribly. I mean, you can, but so yeah, I just go with C+. Just the fact that it was just so perfect. Like it was like a movie. It was like draft day. Like it happened perfectly. So I'll give him a C+ for that one.
Yeah, I was gonna go B-. This would have been a B+ had they taken Kwity Paye over Tony. I don't understand why they drafted Tony, in all honesty, because you just got Kenny Golladay. You have two really solid receivers between Slayton, Shepard, and who's the other guy that always gets hurt? I guess Shepard always gets hurt. You have a solid set of receivers before you add in Tony, and then he's like, I want another wideout. So it would have been a B+ had that been Kwity Paye, but I'm giving them a B- for that because I do love the value of Ojulari, and I love the value that they got out of the trade.
Yeah, it's like this trade, had we graded it like this draft, had we graded it like 10 years earlier when offenses were just starting to change in the NFL, and it was almost like right at the peak time that guys like Percy Harvin were like coveted gift prospects, and like they just like that would have been a great pick 12 years ago, just not now, because we know that form of offense doesn't really fit. So I gave him a C+, like I said. I don't know what their point was in trading down if it was just to get a receiver, because even at 11 with a receiver, I mean, you get your choice basically. So they picked the receiver at 20th, even though they could have had their choice of receivers at 11. So
who did they pass on though? Like, because I know Waddle and Smith were both gone. So like, who did they really pass on? I didn't like Tony over Bateman personally. If you had gotten Bateman there again, it would have been like a B+. But like, it's the fact that it was Tony.
I mean, they couldn't have necessarily gotten anything, but if you're gonna trade up for that, which is just stupid to begin with, but B, if you're gonna trade up to that, you would hope to get your pick of receivers in a normal draft, and in a draft like this, they're all gone. Like, this draft was. I mean, I guess you don't know. I guess I'm just thinking of this. Maybe the Giants' whole plan was to take a receiver to begin with. And by the time they got to 11, Devonta Smith was off the board. Yeah. And I guess I never really thought about that, but that's just a stupid draft strategy. So whatever.
Anyway, we can move on. So you said you wanted to go back to alphabetical. So the last one that we did, that on my board, we have the Raiders. So that would put us up at the Chargers.
We didn't do the Chargers yet?
No, I don't think so. Do we? Do you have it written down? Because I don't feel like we talked about Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah, we didn't do it. I don't think. I don't even think I have it written down. I don't even think I have it written down on my board.
All right. Oh man.
I don't.
All right.
I don't have them written down. I don't. Yeah, they're not there.
All right. Well, we're gonna do the Chargers anyway because they are in fact an NFL team.
I'm going to keep looking at this. Go on.
Okay. So with their first round pick, they had Rashawn Slater fall into their laps at 13, which is, I think, a fantastic pick personally. Then in the second round, they got a guy who you and I both thought were going in the first round, maybe early second, in Asante Samuel at 47. Then the last guy that I know the name of is Tennessee wide receiver Josh Palmer in the third round at 77. Then they got a tight end out of Georgia, defensive end out of Duke, guard out of Nebraska, linebacker out of Iowa, running back out of Missouri, and safety out of Georgia. I have to say, I love everything about the Chargers draft. They saw what happened to Joe Burrow last year when he didn't have a line. They went out, got Corey Linsley in free agency, which is a great start. You add in Rashawn Slater, who you and I do you think he's a left tackle in the NFL?
No. Well, I think he could be if you had to make him one. Like he's kind of like Jedrick Wills to me. Like if I'm a Brown, as a Browns fan, I'd rather have him play right tackle, but we have Jack Conklin there. Right. But no, I think he'll be able to play left tackle, but I think his more natural position is right tackle.
I agree. But he played 4 of the positions on the line. The only one he didn't play was center because I guess they had a good one or something. I love everything that he brings to the table and the potential he has to be great at any of those 4 positions. And then you add in Asante Samuel in the second round, which I think is just an absolute steal. I give the Chargers, I would say a B plus, maybe A minus.
Well,
B plus. B plus.
Basically, every corner that got taken after Greg Newsome, I think, sucks now. So, no, I think they got lucky with Slater falling to them. I mean, even if they weren't planning on taking a tackle, that was like a gift from God. Like, okay, don't make the same decision you've seen so many teams make. And the Chargers are good enough where they got lucky last year and got a good quarterback around a team that you can mold the team around the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I loved I loved that pick. I mean, like I said, it's lucky, but I'll take luck. And then Asante Samuel Jr., he has all the bloodlines. You were froze for a sec. All the bloodlines of an NFL player. He's a little bit on the shorter side to me, 5'10", 5'11". But we've seen we basically, I think in the NFL, defensive coordinators and GMs basically have there's two styles of thinking, I think, as cornerbacks. And one basically came about basically because of Richard Sherman, the long, lengthy, strong corner. And then you have guys like Jair Alexander, who necessarily aren't like so physical, but are just so agile they can stay with anybody. So I think he's a good pick. If he's the only thing that's weird, and this even goes back to all the corners selected, you just don't know how good their coverage is going to trend into the NFL. Like, I mean, Jeff Okudah last year had all the traits and had everything basically, and has had a very, very bad year. So.
Say that again.
But yeah, I what did you give him?
I said a B plus.
Okay, I'll give it a B, just because I don't remember any of the other names you said. So
those are really the two. The other one that they had was Tennessee wide receiver Josh Palmer. I knew.
Yeah, I will say that then it's more of a sign of a good draft. Hopefully, I guess. It could go both ways. It's a sign of a good draft, A, if you know the guys and you actually think they're good, and B, it's a bad draft if you know the guys are drafted late because it's like a receiver from Texas that tore his ACL 7 times, but when he was 17, he was a top 10 prospect. So, yeah.
Well, I'll give them. I also really like the diversity that they had because like they didn't double dip at any position really. Like they got one of a bunch of stuff, which I really like.
I mean that's the sign of hopefully a good team going forward.
Right. So then, if we're sticking with, are you still there? Oh boy, I have a feeling that Justin is lagging out. So beware. Yeah, he's lagging out. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna just go ahead and move on to the Los Angeles Rams. They did not have a first-round pick after trading for Jalen Ramsey last year. So their first selection came out of Louisville, wide receiver named Tutu Atwell at 57 overall. Then South Carolina linebacker Ernest Jones. There's Justin again. Hello. I'm just going over Los Angeles' draft. They didn't have a first-round pick. Their first pick in the second round was Louisville wide receiver Tutu Atwell. South Carolina.
Who are we talking about?
The Rams.
Who are we talking? Okay.
Then they had South Carolina running back Ernest Jones, and then a bunch of picks late that I have no idea who they are. I've actually heard of Jake Funk, running back out of Maryland, but only because I watch Big Ten. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna kind of like ruin, I guess, one of my picks later, or one of my superlatives. I did not like the Tutu Atwell pick simply because he was taken before a receiver that I had much higher up on the board, in Terrence Marshall. So I did not love that pick whatsoever. I don't really know the rest of their draft, but if you want to look at this draft as they didn't have a first round pick because they used their first round pick on Jalen Ramsey. If you're looking at that mentality, it's a great draft. But I'm gonna give this one like a C plus B minus, I think, because you started a C, and then I'm sure that some of these guys will be okay. So I'll give him a C plus.
Bays, he's at the point where I just don't think draft picks matter to him. Like, he could be completely fine going into the offseason with like 2 picks in the upcoming draft. And I'm actually kind of starting to favor his way of thinking where like, hey, I'm just going to go get Jalen Ramsey at 23 and then not have a first-round draft pick for the next 5 years because he'll be great for 5 years. So I actually like it. And I think whatever the Rams are doing is working because, I mean, everything has worked for them for the most part. They went from an offensive juggernaut to a defensive juggernaut. I honestly don't even know this Tutu Atwell guy, but having him picked in the second round when I know their receiver's better than him, in my opinion, they got picked after him. So I don't love that. Robert Rochelle, he's going to be like an experiment. He's going to be an experiment because he didn't play much different coverage at Central Arkansas. Want to know a fun fact about him, though?
Yes.
He's one of only 2 people to pick off Trey Lance in college.
Huh.
Yeah, he played he played for Central Arkansas, the team that they played where Trey Lance went 1 for 15. So if you ever wanted to look at maybe just the system the guy comes from, might be it. But yeah, other than that, not a lot of names. But like I said, I'll give them a B, and they would get a B to me if they had 1 draft pick or if they had 12. They would just get a B because I don't know what Sean McVay does, but I know it works. So whatever, keep doing it. And even he showed that again, trading for Matt Stafford, who I hope it ends up being good for the Rams. But you will see. But I like his idea of thinking and that, hey, we'll just get the players now.
The more you talk about it, the more I like it. So I said when I was giving my grade, I said C plus B minus. And then I went down to the C plus, give him the B minus for me. Because I don't normally look at draft grades as like, oh, they traded their first for Jalen Ramsey. But like the more you think about it and the more that you had talked about it, I'm like, yeah, over the past couple of years, they have really done well without their draft picks. So give them that B minus for me there.
Yeah, I thought I didn't have them written down either, but I did.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
Woo!
I thought I missed the other team.
You missed the LA teams.
All right.
So
right? No one likes LA. All right, who's next?
We got Miami, and talk about a draft class. They got Jalen Waddle, obviously, at number 6 overall. Then with the 18 pick, which was their pick, they got edge rusher Jalen Phillips from Miami, which I don't love or hate. I think that it was a solid pick, and he could develop into a really solid player. Then at 36 overall, they got Javon Holland from Oregon, the safety. Again at 42, they got Liam Eichenberg. And at 81, they got Hunter Long. And then they had 2 picks in the 200s. I mean, you have
you don't,
5.
You don't have to go over it all the time anymore. I haven't pulled up now.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading it off so that that people know that what we're looking at. I love the draft. I mean, Jalen Waddle is going to be a really solid receiver for 2, I think. So long as he's healthy, I hope. Jalen Phillips, like I said, he's going to develop into a really solid player. Javon Holland paired with Zaven Collins. No, not Zaven Collins. Wow. Xavier Howard. There it is. And Byron Jones and the like in the secondary there is going to be deadly. And then Eichenberg was a guy that you and I had both talked about going at the top of the second or even the first round. And then they picked up a tight end in Hunter Long, who I really like. So I'm giving them an A personally. I love all of the guys that they took here.
I like the Phillips pick. A couple picks too early for me. I would have taken Kwity Paye over him. I hope Jalen Waddle does well. He's just I've seen a lot of guys like him not transfer to the NFL.
Fair enough.
Speed, But then again, we've seen guys like Tyreek Hill who have been amazing. I don't like the Javon Holland pick either, considering Trevon Moehrig, I believe, was still on the board.
I think he was. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, because I don't think no one took Moehrig until the 50s. I don't think. I like the Liam Eichenberg pick. Can't believe they got him that deep into the second. Well, that's not that deep in the second round. Never mind. But that's a good pick. That's a good pick. And Jared Dokes, he's going to be your average. They usually running back group has one of them. Your average guy that comes in whenever he can on third downs to block, run screen pass, something like that. Decent player, not going to be a starter, most likely a special teams player, in my opinion. But like I said, I don't. Maybe they like Holland more, but I thought Moehrig was pretty easily the best safety out there this year. So I don't really love that. But I'll give him a B+, and I'll give Waddle the benefit of the doubt for right now.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I agree. Holland was not the best safety on the board, but at one point he was ranked the best safety. I think like first 2 years. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So, like I said, I like the picks if they truly think that he's going to be better overall. Good for them for going for their guy, but I just like the idea, I guess.
Did you give him B-?
I said A.
Wow, geez. How did I hear B-?
Next team up was the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm very jealous of what the Vikings did in this draft class because obviously the Jets traded up to get Elijah Vera Tucker. They ended up sliding back and getting the guy that most people had mocked to them at 14, at 23 overall, and Christian Darrisaw. I think they got an absolute steal in Kellen Mond, the quarterback out of A&M. Then later in I think that's the second round, maybe the third round at 86, they got Wyatt Davis, who is almost unanimously a second-round pick. And then they also got Patrick Jones, who was at one point borderline first round. So just off that ideology and that look at it, I love the draft and what they did with it. So I'm going to go with a B+ because they also got a lot in return from the Jets in that trade.
B+ for who is this? Minnesota. B+.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Excuse me. I like the Darrisaw pick. I love the Wyatt Davis pick. Simply because he didn't have a very good year this year, so that's why he fell. And he has personality issues apparently, but hopefully he can get over those. Darrisaw is good. It's still a little bit too high for me in round 3 to pick Kellen Mond, but I always think that if you aren't a first round quarterback, you shouldn't be picked in the first 6 rounds. So that's just me. Chaz Surratt, he should be able to do a lot in there. You didn't even mention him, but he should be able to do a lot in their defensive scheme. He was once top prospect as a quarterback. He came to North Carolina as a quarterback and changed. And then Patrick Jones too. That's a good value pickup late in the third round. Up until about February, I'd say ish, he was a first round prospect. So I don't know what happened after that, but apparently he fell. But yeah, I like their draft. I'll give them an A. Who's next?
We got New England. Do we even have to talk about New England? I mean, they got Mac Jones. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully this isn't the earliest New England will be picking in the next couple of years. Hopefully they go up every year, hopefully.
I mean, they have Mac Jones. I'm just going to keep saying it.
Well, yeah, and I still don't quite understand the logic behind a lot of the draft experts being like, and I kind of get it, but I kind of don't. Like, Mac Jones would have been a horrible pick at 3 for the 76ers, the 49ers, but at New England at 15, he's a great pick. I kind of understand value-wise, I get that, but to me, it's also kind of like you're just getting a not very good quarterback. he wasn't good enough to go in the first 10. So, but yeah, we don't have to do him. We'll just give them. I'll give them a C plus.
Well,
They get a C
I mean,
plus.
the only guys that I really know were Mac Jones, Christian Barmore, and Ronnie Perkins. I really like Ronnie Perkins' play, but apparently he has some personality issues. Christian Barmore was a very good pick, I think, but I'm going to give him a B because I hate Mac Jones.
I gave him a B plus. I changed mine. Yeah, I don't like Mac Jones either, but he just seems like the guy that would go there and be good. So
That's true.
Unfortunately. All right, who's next?
Now we have to talk about one of the more unfortunate drafts in this class, the New Orleans Saints. When they read off their first two picks, I had no idea who either one of them were. They got Peyton Turner in the first round at 28 overall, a defensive end out of Houston. And then I've heard of Pete Warner before. I shouldn't say that I didn't know who he was, but it kind of confused me as to why he went that high. And then the other notable one that I took from this draft was they got Ian Book, the quarterback from Notre Dame, in one of the later rounds. I didn't like the value from this draft, and leave it to the Saints to find those guys.
Hey, I love playing him with Marcus Davenport and Madden. Yeah, Peyton Turner, literally in like the 24 to 48 hours before the draft, somehow was being talked about in circles of being at the end of the first round, I guess. But it's never good when your first round pick at 28, not even that's like it's the last pick. It's not the last pick yet, but at 28, when you draft a guy that literally nobody knows. And it's not like Ed Oliver, where everyone knew him because he was a top-rated prospect. This guy might have been, I have no idea. Pete Warner I like him, incredibly overdrafted here. Most mocks I saw didn't have him until either late third or fourth or even fifth. So I don't like that pick that early. I mean, he's too small to be an every down linebacker in the NFL. I just don't like it. The only pick I like about Ian Book, that's a joke. He'll hold clipboards for the rest of his life. And then I do like Paulson Adebo. He's from Stanford as well, and this is a kind of thing I like to do. I also know that they produced Richard Sherman, and this guy has a similar body type to Richard Sherman. So I'm just going to say his pro comparison is Richard Sherman. So, but yeah, the Turner pick and. The Turner pick, and then even weirder with the Werner pick. I mean, they got to go. They're D plus for me. And like I said, hopefully for them it works out. But there's just way too many names that I know in those like first three picks, like that I should know them because they got picked last, something like that. So,
I also I was going to give him a D. I didn't like the value out of any of their picks. Even Richard Sherman Jr. I thought that it was a little early. There were other corners on the board, I think. 76 was the third round, right?
I wouldn't have minded him in the second round if I was a Browns fan, but it's just – are you serious? Did I not write them down either?
Yeah, see, they took him with the 12th pick of the third round. Other cornerbacks that went like I hated –
we already talked about it. Molden.
Molden was taken at 100, so even taking him would have been an even better pick. But there was another guy that I just saw. Where was he? Molden was at pick 100. He was in the same round. And the kid from Syracuse, the Fitu Melo Wafandu, both of those guys would have been better picks than the guy that they took. So, I give him a D.
I will say that, but I also don't want us to get to the point that we're just saying like the later picks are not as true. I don't know. You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Who is next? Well, actually, I know the alphabetical orders. I can say who's next.
Okay, go for it.
The Giants.
We already did the Giants. And the Jets.
Right, the Jets. We already did those. What about the Eagles?
We're up to the Eagles.
All right, the Eagles.
Devonta Smith, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're gonna have not both of us together, but we're going to have differing opinions as we have the same opinion that doesn't really fit with everyone else's. So to look at their draft, we'll talk about Devonta Smith. London Dickerson was looked at as like a 5th-round pick, and that was before he got injured. And he got injured this year, so I have no idea what they were doing drafting him in the 2nd round. And it's not like he's a multi-positional; he can play guard. Maybe he can. He went to Alabama, but he was projected as a center, and I understand centers are like important in the NFL, but with how much was behind him, there were way better things to pick other than him.
Especially that early in the 2nd. Like pick 37, that's still basically 1st-round picks. Like the guys they could have had the guys they could have had after him, or the guys that were drafted directly after him. Christian Barmore, Tevin Jenkins. You could have had Tevin Jenkins over Landon Dickerson.
Oh yeah, I was bringing out Tevin Jenkins. I didn't know for sure if he went before, but I thought he
2 picks.
Yeah, I mean Tevin Eichenberg went after him. So
I would have even respected Walker Little out of Stanford.
Yeah, it's just especially because that's just a position of need more in the NFL. Well, it is. I mean, you need left tackles and right tackles more than you need a center. Probably I don't know exactly why, but probably just because I don't know. So so that was that might be like one of the earliest that a center has ever been picked in the draft.
I know the Jets took
Mangold.
Mangold. I was trying to remember his college, and then I forgot to keep talking. They got Mangold. I think he was at an Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got him at the end of the 1st, and he was a long-time center.
I don't see a need there. All right, next one. I didn't get my grade.
Well, I was also going to point out they got Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. He's a running back. I don't love that. Like, the Memphis running backs haven't really turned out to be fantastic. Who's the – I'm trying to remember the last one.
Gibson's okay.
Oh, he was I was mixing him up for someone else then. I thought he was on the Rams.
There's another one you're thinking of. It's I don't know, but you can probably look it up faster than I can think of it. So
I want to say it's like Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
I feel like it's Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, it's definitely. I know. Yeah. Didn't they had a really good running back a couple years ago.
Tony Pollard and Darrell Henderson are both out of Memphis, as well as that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of Darrell Henderson when I thought of that.
Yeah. So, what do you give him?
I mean, it's not like a horrible draft where I can give him the same grade as the Saints, but like I don't love it. So I'm going to go ahead and give him like a C. I think it was an average draft.
I give him a C plus just because I'm nicer than you. And they're also, they're not in your division, so never mind. C plus,
I heard from the Giants too. So.
For me, it's really hard to get like if you go below a C, you really messed up. And who did I D plus? The Saints really messed up. So I'll give them just a C, and we'll go on.
Then we're going to go into the cross-state rival, Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Najee Harris at 24. I wasn't really surprised that they went with a running back because it's a need. But one thing that has been talked about a lot since they took him is who's he going to run behind? Because that line is just not built to last. You know? So I don't love – I like the Najee Harris pick. Don't get me wrong. But then, like, I also love the Pat Freiermuth pick because we were talking about how, you know, he goes to a team and he has the potential to be one of the better tight ends in the league. Almost immediately, not almost immediately, like within the first couple of years of being in the league. But then the rest of the draft, they focused on defense, it seemed, because they got a center and a tackle, but then they drafted a defensive end, linebacker, corner, and a punter for some reason. So I feel like they should have just been drafting a bunch of linemen to take some shots on some guys, and hopefully that some of them pan out. So I like what they did, but I would probably only give them a B, maybe a B plus.
Yeah, I'll give him a B. The Najee Harris pick it's so Steelers, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense if you look at what they're probably going to have to do this year. I mean, they're probably going to need a running back to run the ball more than they've had in the past 20 years, basically, ever since Big Ben's been there. Freiermuth, I agree. I think he'll be good. I just don't know if I love him going to Pittsburgh. Like, I can't think of any like the last Pittsburgh tight end I can remember basically is Jesse Davis or
Jesse James.
Jesse James. Yeah, he's the last one I can remember.
The last really good one I remember was Heath Miller.
Okay, Heath Miller was a tight end at that point, but let's be realistic here. Heath Miller was a tackle. He was a tackle. He was a tackle that ran out for passes sometimes. The tight end position has been revolutionized, Tom. I know you're stuck in the past, but we look for different types of tight ends now. So I mean, that's just not a terrible pick. For me, that like I would look at that pick kind of like, oh, this guy is still on the board. Like if I was playing Madden, I'd be like, okay, I'll pick this guy up and just trade him right away for a quarterback.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't really know any of the other guys on here. They get an A+ for Isaiah Loudermilk, because it's not Isaiah, it's Isaiah Loudermilk. Loudermilk, that's just a great name, and that's 100% perfect that he went to Wisconsin. Like everyone who went to Wisconsin should have milk, cheese, or some other kind of dairy in their name. So that's a great name, though. I'm sure he'll never be good or anything, but yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Moving on.
Hey, I'll remember that name for the rest of my life. There was a shortstop at South Carolina when I went there. His name was Joey Pancake. That's the only reason I remember him is because his last name was Pancake.
Love it.
He spelled it with a K and a K. Pankake. So odd. All right. Did we do the 49ers?
No, we did not.
All right, we'll go to the 49ers. I mean, they automatically get an A+, right? Just because they didn't draft Mac Miller. Not Mac Miller. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Mac Jones. Mac Miller might have been a better quarterback.
Might have been a better pick than Mac Jones. Who knows?
Yeah, we never know. So they went with Trey Lance, who, after not necessarily thinking about it, but just looking at the fact that I don't think they're going to look for him to start at all this year. Like, I think they would put in a different backup before him if Jimmy G goes down, just because it's way too he legitimately just hasn't played enough football to be a starting NFL quarterback right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Trey Sermon, he's a weird one. I don't know how well his game should translate to the NFL, even though because he seems like he should be a really good receiving back, but at Ohio State, he was never put in that position to do that for the most part. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pick that up. But I like that pick. Also, props to Trey Sermon. Probably the only third-round player ever drafted that had a Nike deal coming out already. So good for him. I can't imagine any other third rounder ever had a Nike deal. So, and then they just have some other guy. Jalen Moore. I don't know him, but he's a MAC tackle. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a jump up in competition, I would say.
True. I really like the Aaron Banks pick. He's the guard from Notre Dame. Any lineman out of Notre Dame is really good, but I think that Banks has the skill set and the tools to transition really well. And I agree with everything else you said. I didn't like that they had to trade up for Sermon, especially that because they still have Mostert, and I think that their game style or their game is a little similar. Sermon, I feel like, is a more powerful runner than Mostert, but they have a very similar style of game. And then didn't they bring in another running back because they lost Coleman and McKinnon. So I feel like they brought in another running back. I forget. Give your grade real quick while I look.
Kyle Juszczyk, Jamichael Hasty, Austin Walter, Wayne Gallman.
They brought in Wayne Gallman. That's who I was thinking of. They brought in Wayne Gallman. Like they just have so many running backs. What'd you say?
And I agree, but it's also like Kyle Shanahan. It's like I feel like he just wants his own little like playpen of running backs.
Yeah, so
just to like do whatever he wants with all of them. Each one is an experiment. Like what happens when you give this one steroids? Like what happens? Okay, go on. Finish your real talk about the draft. I'm gonna keep thinking of monster anecdotes.
Monster anecdotes. I was just saying that like I get him having a lot of running backs because he is a creative offensive mind, if you want to say that. And he will find a way to use them all. And Sermon, I think, is going to be one of the more interesting guys to pair with Mostert. So I'm going to give them a B because I'm not 100% sold on Lance. But I'm not going to knock him points because I am not sold on it. So they automatically get a better grade than they would have if they took Mac Jones. So I'm going to go with the B for the Niners.
I'll go with the B as well. I still don't really love Trey Lance. I'm not a huge fan of his, but hopefully time will tell, and I hope he is a good quarterback. But I mean, if you look at the past two FCS big time FCS quarterbacks, especially ones that went to North Dakota State. There's one that specifically plays in Indianapolis. I don't know if you know who he is, Carson Wentz. He sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Trey Lance is going to suck as well. So no, but I give it a B. It was, it's a decent draft.
Yeah, it's like you said, decent. Like it's not bad. It's not good. Or I shouldn't say it's not good.
It makes sense for them to draft Lance over any of the other quarterbacks because Lance really is the only quarterback that's not equipped. I mean, I don't think Justin Fields is either, or Mac Jones is, to be truthfully honest, but they're going to be pushed forward to start right away. Whereas Trey Lance not only needs a year to sit, like I said, I think they would put in their other backup before they put in Lance, especially if it's in like an odd situation. And then Trey Sermon, I like it, but I agree. I don't know why you trade back up to get a guy that you have. Like, if you just think of the prototypical NFL running back right now, that's all Kyle Shanahan looks for. He wants like three of them.
It just doesn't make sense.
Just three of them, just like one time to be like, okay, you can eat now. You can eat now.
That's literally what he did. He had games where Coleman popped off. He had games where Mostert popped off. He had games where Jamichael Hasty popped off. Like, he literally would just go right down his list. He's like, okay, it's this guy's turn. Let's go.
Hey, I mean, I would hate that if I was a running back, but whatever.
I hate it as a fantasy player, dude. I never knew whether or not my guy was going to have a big game or anything.
Well, good thing for you is that I'm going to be a fantasy fanatic now here in a few months. So I'll be able to teach you how to play I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a little game called fantasy football. So
yeah, I've never played, actually. I haven't won any championships or anything.
No one cares. Literally no one cares about your fantasy team. All right, so the Seahawks.
They only had 3 picks. They had 3 picks.
Yeah, okay.
And they messed one of them off.
I'm going to give him an A. Trey Brown, I love. Stone Forsythe is a sweet name. And Dwayne Eskridge is from the MAC. 3 for 3. A. Definitely an A. They got the most out of their 3 picks. No, I'm just kidding. They got the worst out of these 3 picks. Like, you could not. I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could do. I don't know if you could do worse if you tried. Trey Brown is severely undersized as a corner in the NFL. I don't know who Stone Forsythe is, but they at least don't fail just because that's a cool name. And it's a 6th-round pick, so whatever. And Dwayne Eskridge, got picked before.
Terrence Marshall. I was going to make the
Terrence
same
Marshall.
thing.
Yeah, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. But like I said, he went to the MAC, so it should be an A+ draft. But in reality, it's a C- draft. Lucky not to be a D.
I had Trey Brown.
Also, I will say it's hard. It's hard to have a good draft when you have 3 picks.
Yeah, that I was going to make that point as well. I had Trey in the article that I did with the best player at each position for the Big 12. I had Trey Brown, but I did like make it a point like, yo, this guy is 5'9", 185 pounds. Like that's not going to make it.
He is Hollywood Brown on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, Eskridge, I don't understand why people weren't on Marshall. Marshall paired with Lockett and Metcalf would have been scary, especially with Russ at quarterback. I'm going to give him a C- because I don't, like you said, 6th round pick doesn't really matter. Trey Brown is small. Eskridge was the wrong pick, so I'm going with a C-.
Great. We agree. Dwayne Eskridge could turn out to be a little bit like Corey Davis, but we'll see.
He could, but who knows? We got 3 teams left.
With all the tumultuous intention things going on in Seattle with Russell Wilson wanting to leave, it's incredible how we've now advanced like a month forward in the timeline, and no one wants to talk about Russell Wilson wanting a trade anymore. So that's just how the NFL works. That's just how the NFL works.
Because he stopped complaining about it, unlike Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, hey, no one remembers that anyways. Did he even ask for a trade? I don't even think he did. So
he gave 4 teams he would go to, but he didn't request a trade.
Yeah, he was bluffing. All right, Tampa Bay,
the champs. Yeah, so I don't really know a bunch of these people, but like when you're picking 32 in each round, it's kind of tough. I didn't understand the Joe Tryon pick because I had no idea who he was, and I thought there were better guys on the board at more of a position of need potentially. So, but I don't know if you know anything about him, but I guess he's really versatile and fits into this the scheme. So I'm not going to take off too many points.
Yeah, this guy who got picked in the 2nd round, I guess he played at Florida. I don't really know him, but
Kyle Trask.
Yeah, never heard of him. Tryon, I did not a deep dive, but a little bit of a dive into him because he was all the rage for the Browns. Like, I feel like before the NFL draft, there's like every prospect gets their one day to shine on one team. Like, so like for 2 days in all the mocks, it was like Joe Tryon is going to the Browns. And then it just like I said about Russell Wilson's trade, it disappeared. So it didn't happen. So I don't mind that pick. Like I said, Kyle Trask, who knows what he could be. And honestly, it doesn't matter because you have Tom Brady for another year. At the least is one more year, unless you were like, but I'm saying at the least you have one more year with Tom Brady. So like you don't need to look at quarterback, especially a reach. I mean, Kyle Trask would have been a reach in like the 4th round, 3rd, 4th round to me. He was surrounded by a lot of good things. I mean, let's be honest. He was surrounded by the best player.
Tony.
He was surrounded by 2 1st-round draft picks.
Yeah,
Kyle Pitts and him. So
and Brevin Jordan.
I mean, Brevin Jordan didn't go to Florida.
Oh wait, no, he was Miami.
I thought he's either Miami or USC.
I'm pretty sure it was Miami then. Anyway.
So yeah, I just don't. I understand it's like the flip the switch kind of move, like just kind of a reaction. You see him on the board, like okay, might as well take him because we're not picking for another 30 picks. But still, I don't really like the pick. The kid from North Texas, I started hearing a lot about. Apparently, he's very fast as well.
Great. More weapons.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris Wilcox went to Brigham Young. That sucks. But then again, I'll give him a B+ because it honestly just doesn't matter. Like they bringing back everyone they need. So
yeah,
even if even if like they had a hole to fill really, and they probably do have little like spots where you can fill in the crevices with certain players, but until they don't win another Super Bowl or like have a player go super down to injury, they're just going to consistently stay at a B plus, just like the Patriots were basically a B plus every year or a B every year, just because it didn't matter.
Fair enough. I'm going with a B. Wait, what, you went with a B plus, right? Yeah, I'm going with a B. I don't know enough about Tryon, in all honesty. That's why I came up with the grade that I did. And I think Brady's actually taking the.
I don't really know anything about him either. Like I said, he was just on the Browns' radar for about a day. So clearly, like I said, there are those players that pop up for a day. I clearly did not do any research on him. So
gotcha. I also saw that Brady's actually like gonna try and help Trask because he knows he's not in fear of losing his job this time, and he's actually looking for the Bucs' future. So I'm not gonna say that Trask's gonna be the best ever or anything, but like they took a project guy to learn from the best of all time, which I don't.
Which you got to look at though is being kind of a spite move from Tom Brady. Yeah. He was never willing to do it. Never willing to do it in New England, even with Jimmy G. Like I don't know, maybe he did offer to help him out because that's when Tom Brady was still happy in New England. But just an absolute kick in the balls to New England, being like, "Hey, if the Bucs, if you draft this guy in the second or third round, I probably won't help him out much, but I'm going to tell everyone that I helped him out a lot, and then it'll be a good pick for you until he inevitably sucks in 4 years." So,
fair enough. I can't argue with that in all honesty.
So what did you give him? I gave him a B plus. You give him a B?
Yeah, I said a B because I don't know enough about Tryon to give him anything higher.
Yeah, we should have two more.
Yes, we have two more. We have the Tennessee Titans. They ended Farley's slide at 22. Then they took North Dakota State tackle Dylan Redunce at 53. And then later in the draft, they got Elijah Molden at 100. And everyone seems to be really high on this Des Fitzpatrick guy who they took at 109. I don't really know him enough, but I have to think that he's on the same level as that other Louisville guy that we saw. Who was it? Who was the Louisville receiver?
Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell. I just don't know enough about him. So with that being said, Farley, high risk, high reward with his injury history. Sorry, I'm just writing down a note real quick. Injury history is a question mark. I don't like the Dylan Redunce pick because I get that he was blocking for Trey Lance and Trey Lance did great things or whatever, but I've never seen a North Dakota State tackle go that high. I'm giving him a B minus because high risk, high reward on Farley could end up giving them an A or it could end up giving them a C minus. So I'm going to the B minus, which is in the middle.
Yeah. Looking back on it, I would say they probably we'll see with Farley. We'll see. Ray Duns has the size, but yeah, it's once again going to the NFL. It's going to be a lot different. It's going to be quite a jump considering competition. Molden, at pick 100, I thought he was a first-round pick. I understand he is undersized, so I understand he was probably never going to be a first or second-round pick. But, if you watch him or watch his game, he is the exact type of corner you want in the positionless movement in the NFL. So I love him, but other than that, not seeing first of all, why did they abbreviate? I don't know if you're on the same website as me, but instead of just putting S for safety, they put SAF.
No, I have just S. I'm on NFL.com.
Yeah, so am I. All right, whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
But just for Elijah Molden, I like that pick, so they automatically get a C plus at least. I'll give him a B. I don't hate the Redun's pick. I also don't hate the Farley pick. I'm just happy. Personally, I'm happy they made it. So the Browns got Newsome. However, if Caleb Farley had been fully healthy coming into this draft, I think he would have gotten a lot higher than 22. and B, I would have taken Farley, but with the injury history, I don't need another Greedy Williams. So
True.
or they don't need another Greedy Williams.
You said a B for them?
Yeah.
Yep. I went B minus, so we were close there too.
Yes. And then our last team, of course, is
the Washington football team.
Washington football team. So why don't you read off them for me?
Sure. Jamin Davis went 19. I think that was just kind of a scramble pick when there was no Mac Jones on the board for them. Personally, I think that's what it was. Then in the second round, they got Samuel Cosme. I really like that pick. He's an absolute unit. He's a massive human being and is going to be a great tackle, I think. He has the potential to be kind of like a Mekhi Becton, where he's not the quickest guy on the field, but he's just a wall where no one can really get around him, and he's a lot stronger than a lot of the people around him. Then the only other guy that I really knew was Diami Brown, the wide receiver out of North Carolina. They also drafted a long snapper named Cameron Cheeseman.
Yeah. I read a story about him. He did get drafted. Okay, good. So there was 2 long snappers drafted then.
2 long snappers drafted. And one of them was named Cheeseman.
Yeah, but he went to Michigan. Should have gone to the other Big Ten.
Should have gone to Wisconsin. Yeah.
Basically, the Washington football team has drafted so well up in their front 4 that Jamin Davis is like a luxury pick to them. Like they could pretty much take any athlete and he's going to be good in that defense at linebacker because of how good those guys in front of him are. Like, I mean, you could put like Christian McCaffrey, Reggie Bush in that kind of position and right behind those 4 linemen, and they're going to make plays. So
they're going to get. I don't think
it's a great. Yeah, I don't think it's a great pick, but it's going to work for the football team because they've set up their what they've done is so 2010 almost, where they've just made their defense or their defensive line so good that it isn't really going to get realized in this day and age. But that defensive line, even right now, is insane, and it's only going to get better with how young they are. So, like I said, they had they got lucky to take basically. And like I said, I don't know how they had him graded. Clearly, they had him graded high, but athletically and versatile-wise, I think he's one of the best in the draft. So they got lucky with that. I like the Cosme pick. Like I said, I sometimes think that people reach for offensive tackles in the first round when you can find like Cosme is a guy for me who in past drafts would have been drafted at the end of the first round for like with someone trading up to get him or something like that. So right there, that's a perfect fit for him. Diami Brown, that offense in North Carolina this year was, it was an air raid offense. So there's not a lot of on field you could take from that unless you're Sam Howell basically. But I know I've heard of the name, and then I've actually heard of this, Dax Milne guy. I think he bounced around to different schools and maybe JUCOs, but he ended up Brigham Young. But clearly, he's a 7th round pick. He's almost Mr. Irrelevant. So, yeah, good for him. He'll probably never hear his name called ever again. So,
maybe. What did you give him as a grade?
Yeah. I'll give him a B, like I said.
That's where I was going.
It's just overall, it's not a bad draft. But then again, you just have they are banking so much on their defensive line that they better hope they stay injury free.
True, but I think that they're deep enough now where they can handle one injury, maybe. Because I feel like Davis could go in and play a defensive end position instead of a linebacker.
Yeah, he could play an edge kind of thing. What did you give him?
I also said a B.
Okay. Yeah. No, like I said, I think he's probably the most athletic linebacker in that group of linebackers that was going to go in the first round. To be honest, I think revisionist history, but I think they probably would have rather had Zaven Collins there.
They probably would have wanted them. Yeah.
Yeah, and once he got picked, they just moved one spot down on their linebacker pecking order. So.
Which I respect instead of scrambling around and taking Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, like just like look. That's just like the GM basically just like went online and was like 2021 NFL mock draft, and then
Oh,
he saw like Kadarius Toney go like 17th in the mock draft, so he was like at 20 he's a steal, and you're just like and you're just like, wow, that's so stupid. But like I said, Jamin Davis, I don't know how to say his name, but he'll probably have a long. Yeah, it's jam. He's just jamming out. He needs to get like he's got to, if he ever scores a defense touchdown or does a big play, he has to whip out like the guitar solo. Has to happen.
He's slamming Jamin Davis, dude. I mean, it's right there.
Okay. See, you're taking the things I say and trying to add on to them. What you need to understand is the things I say are already perfect when they come out. You don't need to add on to anything.
Obviously, I do. Obviously,
that's what I thought. Obviously not, because you're.
Obviously, I
do. Benjamin St. Juste, I guess, is a good pick considering the last Minnesota defensive back I saw come out was good. So it's the only thing I have. It's the only thing I have to say. And I can't think of his name. What's his name? I was thinking about this last night. What's his name?
Minnesota defensive back.
Plays for the Bucks. Antoine Winfield. That's what I'm thinking of.
He was out of Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oh. The more you know.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we'll call it for a day. And then I think next week.
You don't want to do the steals, reaches, and impacts?
Bro, we're already at 75 minutes. I think we could just kind of wrap up the draft on Wednesday or Thursday, kind of like that, and just talk about whatever's there. And then somehow we'll come up with a plan on where to go in the future. Speaking of next week, because I think we've come close to, we've dragged the draft out for a long time, and going on again this week, we're gonna kind of drag it with us. So I think we finally have to start talking about something else. It could still be the NFL. Don't worry.
Fantasy football.
Yeah. We just can't do the draft anymore. I think we talked about the draft for about like
a month. It's been a month.
2 months, like 2 months before the draft, and now that it's gone, we're trying to drag it on as long as we can. I think Wednesday will be the first time next week's first will be the first time we don't bring up the draft, and the last time we bring up the draft until like 2 weeks from now, when we decide that when one of the rookies got in trouble for hazing, or one of the rookies got busted for DUI. Those are always great stories.
Unless we talk about them in our fantasy football talk, like, the Steelers drafted Najee Harris. What about his something or other? I don't know.
Like once again, I said you have about a month and a half more of being the best fantasy player on this draft. So hey, take all the glory, bring it all into you that you want right now, because I'm gonna take that crown and that throne and snatch it from you.
Good for you. I like to see it. Hopefully you can.
You're not competitive enough. Get more competitive.
Obviously, you haven't done fantasy football with me. It's the only thing I care about.
That's an issue.
Yeah, it is. I've been told that by multiple people.
Yes. Maybe start time to, do I have to have the talk with you?
Maybe. That's a really good question. Maybe.
All right. Well, like I said, that'll do it for our second episode of the week. We did shorten it down. Hopefully,
the first one.
Yeah. So we will finish off our draft grades next week. Kind of do some superlatives, and then maybe for the second part of the podcast, we'll find something else to talk about other than football. But there are no guarantees. So that'll be it for me. Tom, you got anything, bud?
Let's go Dogs, baby. That's how we do.